Buster's Malheart is a strange thriller peppered with dark humor and interlocking mystery about an eccentric mountain hermit who is on the run from the authorities, surviving the winter by breaking into empty vacation homes in a remote community and regularly calling into radio talk shows to rant about an impending, potentially apocalyptic event known as the Inversion at the turn of the millennium. Yes, the film takes place in the late 90s. He is haunted by visions of being lost at sea in a small rowboat in the middle of a vast ocean and memories of his former life as a husband and father, whose job as the night shift concierge at a hotel took its toll on his psyche and consequently his marriage, until a chance encounter with a conspiracy-obsessed drifter changed the course of his life forever. We gradually pieced together the events that literally as well as figuratively fractured his life and left him on the run from the police. Now this is another one of those films I usually really like to review, which seems to be really enjoyed and praised by a pretty huge portion of critics, but almost every one of them really seems to be quick in pointing out that this is a film that's not for everyone. This film has been called, and I quote, too out there, ambiguous, and too tricky to be appreciated by the impatient or by mass audiences. Despite the fact that it stars Rami Malek, who seems to be a pretty popular actor right now, he's going to be playing Freddie Mercury soon, so that's going to be interesting. I really don't think that this is the mind-bending / genre-bending film that's worthy of Donnie Darko level cult status. I really don't think it's that complex or that memorable, and I'm definitely not saying this as a criticism. I genuinely enjoyed this film. I genuinely think it's quite delightful in many aspects, especially in the way it jumbles drama with comedy, the way it jumbles strangeness with downright tragedy. Certain themes and ideas and references are more clear and consequential and more potent than others, like the main character is originally called Jonah. He is not called Buster. When we see him during his family life, he is named Jonah. Obviously this is not unintentional. This turns him into this kind of part spiritual symbol, like Jonah was the name given to a prophet in the northern kingdom of Israel in about the 8th century, and the way it ties into the story here is that the conspiracy-obsessed drifter he meets, played by DJ Qualls, it claims to be a prophet, claims to be the last free man, and he claims to be the prophet of the second inversion, which has to do with something, and I'm quoting the film here, about the spin of the universe reversing upon itself, and it's connected in some way to the Y2K problem. Like I said, the film takes place in the late 90s. I have absolutely no fucking idea how these two things connect and what the hell do they mean, but those are conspiracy theories for you. They make absolutely no fucking sense, and the way the more absurd they are, the more crazy the people who believe them. The film really doesn't shy away from biblical allusions. Like, for example, there's a moment in which we see him and his daughter playing with a plastic toy frog, and during the next moment we see him in the boat in which he is stranded on with live frogs all over him, and obviously the presence of frogs in the middle of the ocean is completely implausible. He also claims to be inside the beast, so that's another reference, and I especially found this piece of trivia to be especially resonant and important to our story here, is that being a Jonah is a long-established expression originally used by sailors to describe a person who is carrying a jinx, a person who brings bad luck just simply by being present. And that's very true, especially when we examine like the relationship between these two characters, between Jonah and between this unnamed drifter, who is pretty much the embodiment of bad luck and of untrustworthiness. Like, he even says to Jonah at a certain point, "Hey, I thought we were friends," and Jonah just says to him, "Friends? What the hell are you talking about? I don't even know your name. You didn't even want to tell me." It's very interesting what this film does with names, in hindsight at least, because once Jonah loses his name, once he loses this name that's so rich with significance, and he becomes Buster, he picks up this name that pretty much has absolutely no significance at all, him as a person and his life pretty much kind of loses all meaning, and he feels guilty about this, I think, at least subconsciously he does. I think those scenes on the boat are pretty much made to represent his subconscious. He feels guilty towards his daughter, he feels guilty towards his wife, who was pretty much a conformist and a devout Christian, which he wasn't any of that. He was pretty much a non-conformist nature lover, but yeah, still, during certain scenes, it was actually his wife who proves to be the more reasonable and the more realistic one. So my own personal interpretation about this film is that it's pretty much about the crisis of the modern everyman, and that really has to do with the illusion that everything is hunky-dory when really nothing really is. And it's, I think, about these very small problems and dissatisfactions that can ultimately really add up and produce a much larger problem and dissatisfaction, possibly with disastrous results. And it's also about things not being okay and not being normal. I mean, it's not normal to work night shifts. It's not normal to be married and have kids with someone you don't really have things in common with. It's not normal to live with them in the same house you live with your soul soul-sucking in-laws. It's not normal to be living in these densely packed urban areas and to lose all connection with nature. It's not normal to be wanting to be and to having to be at two places at the same time, etc., etc. And basically what it does is that it produces this sort of fragmented existence in which you are supposed to be fulfilled by all of these accomplishments, like having a job, having a family, and belonging to a community, yet all of those things just don't produce any sort of fulfillment in the slightest, so you are sort of forced to wander off into your own little fantasy world in a way. So I did my best to talk about this film without giving away any spoilers, and it probably has just turned out to be a gigantic mess. I hope it didn't. The idea is that I wasn't all that crazy about this film. I think it's okay. The main reason I would recommend it is because of Rami Malek's performance, which I thought it was just great. It's a very nuanced, it's a very layered, and it's a very varied performance. I really love this actor very much, and there's also a lot of funny and absurd and quirky moments in the film. Like when he goes and breaks into these rich people's houses, there's a moment in which he is taking a dump into a pan and like a sign of rebellion and stuff like that. I thought that was funny. Later on in the film, he ties up an old couple who just comes home into a house in which he is taking refuge in, ties them up into their closet, and the woman is screaming for help. He goes over, he opens the door, and he starts taking off his pants, and the woman is just screaming like, "What the hell are you doing?" And he just gives her his pants and just leaves. I thought that was hilarious as well. So this movie, pretty fucking crazy. It has some interesting ideas. I don't think it's ultimately all that memorable, but the main performance is genuinely great. So I don't know, watch it, don't watch it, make up your own mind about it. It's important. Thanks for watching my review, folks. My question to you guys would be, what are some of your favorite surreal mystery dark comedy films? Strange combination, but hey, that's what this film is. So those are the type of films I'm looking for from you guys. So don't forget to leave your answers down below in the comment section. Thanks for watching as always. I hope you enjoyed my review. If you have, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so I can see you guys later with other reviews. And until then, folks, you know the drill. As always, stay cool, stay awesome, and goodbye.